Welcome to this tutorial, which is mainly made for beginners, so simple techniques here to show how you build figures, so from scratch until the end. The tutorial is divided in 5 chapters. The first one, preparation, second one, washing, third one, primering, the fourth one, painting, and the fifth one, assembling. So before starting, count the pieces that you have received, so ensure that you receive the 11 pieces that are on the schema, and when that's done you are ready to start the tutorial. So first of all we'll remove the flashes. So the flashes are this little piece resulting from the modeling. You can remove them easily with a wire cutter. So as you see there, it's very easy and quite quick to do. So take all the pieces and remove the flashes from them. So when that's done, you can start some fitting test to see if the pieces fit well together. In this case you see that it's very good, and you can continue on all the flashes that you have, and each time verify that you have indeed a good fitting. If not, we'll see how to correct some that are not good. So when you remove them, follow the curve of the pieces and ensure that you don't remove some details or stuff like that, and do not care too much. You see that here you will have some work, but that's perfectly normal to have such things. So you can continue on all the pieces and remove them. That's really not a difficult step. So always think to verify the fitting to ensure that everything fits well, and so you can already prepare in advance the next steps. Here you can see that the fitting is not that good. So we have a little gap between the two pieces. We'll see later on how we will fix that. So for the small pieces, be careful and ensure that the fitting is correct, as usual. So you don't have to take care to be really precise in these steps. You can really remove them, and later on we'll see how to smoothen the surface. As you can see, it's not a good looking for the moment, but the fitting is still good. As you can see here, you have a gap between the head and the neck. So you can leave it like that if you want to keep it simple, but I don't like it, so we'll use some milliput to fill up that gap. So it's a bicomponent pasta that you have to mix up to obtain the final product that you will have to apply to the head. So take the same amount of both components and then you mix them up, and after a while, when it's molded, you can apply it on the neck. Apply it well on all the surfaces to not create a gap when you will put the head on the neck. So when that's done, you put the head, and you can use a screwdriver to soften the surface and to have a better looking drawing. So you can use as well a bit of water, and you will see that the result is far better, at least while using milliput. So when that's done, you can remove the exceeding material carefully to not create some scratch on the jointure. It will take 24 hours for that milliput to dry up, so we'll put that piece aside, but we'll continue on preparing the other pieces that are waiting for us. Do not be afraid, we don't aim for a final result at this stage. We'll have the sanding to finalize the final aspect of the jointure. While it's drying, we will start the sanding. So for that you will need 3 types, a medium, a fine and a finished one. so which has less and less growth. And during that operation, it's advisable to use a dust mask with filters to avoid to pollute your lung. So you first start with the medium paper, so the one which will give the less good aspect. As you can see, it's not a good finish with that sanding paper. So then you take the medium one to smoothen a bit the surface. As you can see, it's getting better. You will need to use the finish abrasive to have the final result. Here you can see that we have some seam lines to remove. So we can already see the fitting on the piece, and you can see that what we saw earlier on is in fact visible, so we'll have to work on to remove that part in the piece. So to do that, you take your sanding papers, and as usual you use the three types, first the medium one, then the finished one at the end. And you have to redo the operation up until you have the gap which has disappeared. So for the little hole that we saw earlier on, we'll have to fill it up with some material. So for that we take the remaining of our milliput that we use for the head and the neck, and with the screwdriver we smoothen the surface until that's ready. You can use a bit of water as well to obtain the desired result, and when that's done you can leave it up for drying for 1 day. So we can continue the sanding on the other pieces. The more you have to remove the material on the pieces, the less fine paper you will use, so that is up to you to choose the best one depending on your feeling mainly. The aim is to obtain a smooth surface. You can use a toothpick to verify if you are close to the end result or not, and redoing over and over that operation until you reach the final result that you are happy with. So you can see here that it's not smooth because we have some glitches when using the toothpick. So verify the complete pieces. Here you can see that we have several places where we'll have to work on and to fill the gaps. So as usual we take the remaining of the milliput and we fill the gap. Check as well for all the seam lines that you can see on the pieces. So here you can see that we have one here that we'll have to sand. A seam line is remaining from the molding process, so we have to remove that because it won't look good at the end. And continue to check all the pieces and to fill them or to sand them, depending if it's a hole or a seam line. Normally you should not have too much if the piece is good quality. So here we have several of them, but not that much, so it means that it's a very good quality. So it's always the same technique, so using the milliput, a screwdriver, a bit of water, and do not be afraid of the look of the milliput. We'll sand it afterward and you won't see it at the end. Here we'll start with a tricky part, which is the piece of hair. So as you can see, you will have to recarve all the hair because the flash was not well placed. So you can use the triangular file to redo the carving of the hair and to make disappear in fact the flash, which is not an easy thing. So you can see that you have to go little by little, repeat several times the sanding, the carving, the sanding, the carving, until you will reach the final result that you aim for and that you don't see anymore. As you can see, we are close to the end, but we have still some work to do on that. So we continue. Do not forget as well to clean all the hair and continue to apply the 3 different pieces. As you can see, you are closer and closer to the end. So continue to sand and to carve until you reach the final result. So here you can see the difference between the before and after, and you see that it's really mandatory to do it, if not you will have a poor result. So we continue on the other pieces of the hair, so same techniques using the file and then the sanding paper until you have the final result that you aim for. So here we still have the same technique up until we have what you see at your right, and which is nearly impossible to see the initial flashes that were on the hair. Mainly you have to sand everywhere you have cut flashes. It's really rare that you have to sand in other places. So here focus on all the places where you have removed the flashes. When you are done with the sanding, we'll prepare the fixation for the figure. So for that we are using a Dremel. So do a hole in it. Be extra careful to not go through the leg or to create a hole in your leg. So and ensure as well that you have a deep enough hole to have enough for your statue to be stable, and you can test that with the file. So when that's done, you can continue with the preparation of the other pieces. So as usual, cutting the flashes and then sanding them. So to that I'm using a tool, a Power Plus tool, to create in the bottle of wine the little hole at the bottom of it. So you can use any tool, but that one is quite efficient. So at the end I'm using the U-Star one from E2046 to smoothen the surface. And when it's done, you can see the difference before and after. Thanks to the magic of video edition, we are now 24 hours later, so you can start to sand the milliput that is now dry up. So you do the operation until you have a smooth surface. Do not use the medium sanding paper, use the fine one or the finishing one, because the milliput, if not, will go away too quickly. And when that's done, you should have a perfect surface where you don't see the difference between the resin and the milliput. So here you can see the work that we have to do. So for that we are still using sanding paper. You can roll it up on the file, and like that it will be easier to obtain the curve on the neck, and you just use, as I just said, the fine or the finished one, but not the medium one, because it would be too harsh for the milliput. So as usual, you have to redo the operation over and over again. You check with the toothpick, and you use a file and a sanding paper up until when you obtain what you estimate is the final result. Here you can see a seam line that you have to remove, and when that's done you have that final result. Now we'll work on the gap that we have on the hair. So for that we'll use an air dryer to heaten the pieces, like that they will be easy to adapt on the model. So for that you have to leave it up until you can bend easily the pieces, and when that's the case you fit it on the pieces and you push up until the fitting is perfect, and you wait few seconds that the piece is cooling down. You can even use the air dryer with the cooling system, so like that you have a better fitting and you won't see the gap anymore between the two pieces. So now you can see that we still see some defects, so we'll have some sanding to remove that even if it's not that visible, it's a default, so we have to try to remove it. So you can use all your tools, so either the sanding paper or the file, depending on what you feel more comfortable with. As you can see, we are not yet there, so we have to continue to sand up until you don't see any flashes or seamline or anything. And here's the final result. So now we'll continue on all the milliput that we have put. We'll send them all until we have the final results. Still using our 3 sanding paper, finishing with the finishing one. So as you can see, the milliput is very not good looking, but that was not a problem, because after a few sanding you don't see anything anymore. So when that's done, you can verify the fitting of all the pieces. And here we are preparing some holes to put the stick that will be useful to maintain the pieces for the primering, the painting, and all the next stages. You can drill them anywhere, but obviously ensure that they won't be visible at the end when the figure will be glued, and ensure that they are deep enough to maintain the weight.